you're feeling like you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, then there's some type of resistance that you have. And if you're saying, well, it's because I don't have anything I'm really excited about in life, it's because you resisted doing the thing you know it's going to make you happy in life. So that's resistance.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience. Some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy.
So here's some common things that the literature shows. When we are having this resistance, we are not as engaged in doing things. It could be like Darko said, personal development. Look at that. Darko, first thing on the list. We can also resist any kind of ways of going into ourselves and reflecting, right? People who journaling is a way to break through this resistance, by the way. It's a creative way to break through it because it doesn't seem quite as scary as going to a therapist or a counselor sometimes. So journaling is an easy way to get more into the self-exploration habit in a small and easy dosage. Lack of motivation. You might not, if you're feeling like you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, then there's some type of resistance that you have. And if you're saying, well, it's because I don't have anything I'm really excited about in life, it's because you resisted doing the thing you know it's going to make you happy in life. So that's resistance. Sorry, got to call an apple, right? Avoidance of treatment. So some people will resist going to a coach or a therapist or a consultant. Or, and this happens, coaches, I know I've got some coaches in the house. A lot of the stuff I do with clients is I'm working on stuff like this. It is not uncommon that sometimes your client will go dark for a month because you've hit on it, because you've hit the point. And it might take them a little time to kind of be ready for it. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. It's happened to me once or twice where somebody really, really resisted and they really had a hard time pushing past it, right? Especially if they have something like PTSD. Yes, aggressive people in bars and stuff. Yeah, I totally understand. That's definitely something. And that kind of thing, if you have something that's a PTSD or you have something with a trauma, I strongly recommend that you can still do coaching, but you can actually do it with a therapist as well. A couple of clients I have them going to a therapist and I work with them, but I'm communicating with the therapist. Or they go through certain things of therapy and then the therapist is like, okay, you're ready to do this, this, and this. And we just kind of go back and forth. Loss of effort and interest. Okay. Maybe all of a sudden you just feel like you don't care anymore. That's another form of resistance to you're resisting your resistance right there. Right. And that's a passive aggressive one, as that Rebecca was talking about before. And then mood disorders. Again, you see this? You can actually, if you have enough psychological resistance over and over, it can actually manifest into PTSD on its own. So it can add to the PTSD you've had, or it can actually create more. You can create such a bad cycle for yourself that you're traumatizing yourself. So you've got to break this cycle. So solutions, since that was not very uplifting. All right, but we know you got to go through the moat to get to the castle. So you got to know what it is before you can go to the solution. So the first thing is we've got to shift the view. The first thing we have to do is we have to look for the signals. We have to be very acutely aware of our body and our sensations. We also have to know our gut signals. When our gut is telling us something, we have to listen to it. If you don't do that, you are automatically resisting. And you're resisting usually the highest form of understanding within yourself. I'm going to say that again slower. When you have a gut intuition, a gut feeling, and you don't listen to it, you are actually resisting your highest form of wisdom that you have access to in your life. Every time I have ignored that little voice, I have had very negative consequences. So you need to look at the signals. But if you haven't gotten to the point where you can listen to your intuition, start with your body. Your body's telling you. If you're feeling anxious, you're feeling your heart palpitating, you're feeling headaches, you're feeling nauseous, these are all signals that you have resistance. It's kind of like water. Do I have any people who like water, like swimming, or I like kayaking? I don't know if anybody else likes this. Do you guys like kayaking, going on boats? Anybody here like that? Raise your hand, or actually in the chat, just say yes. Yes. Maybe you like swimming, any kind of water, hopefully. So in kayaking, right? We know I love kayaking. I have two in the USA. I was able to do it over the summer for the first time in years. I miss it so much. And some of the things that we know is that if you're in a river, you know there's going to be a rock. You know there's going to be obstacles. But you don't stop from going, because then you won't get anywhere. So you know that you have to navigate it. Now, what you try to do is you try to see the rocks as best you can before you get to them so that you can go around them. And it usually leads you to better things. If you see the water starting to get really, really fast, it's usually a sign that a very big waterfall or rapid is coming up. You've got to watch the water. And you don't just be oblivious like da 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 da, because you could hit a rock and then you could capsize, right? So this whole thing is, it's going with the flow, but you're still paddling enough that you're directing where you're going. This whole thing about following your intuition and listening to the signals is the same way. You want to be aware of what's around you. You want to be aware of yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. When you can get to that point, this gets a lot easier, because I'll say to myself, oh, I'm resisting this. And then I'll start using one of the solutions, the creative solutions. Now, also, if you want to be more professional about this, get a professional, get an accountability person, get a coach, get somebody who's going to help you. I am actually doing something, I'm still keeping it a secret, but I've hired a coach to help me to do something that I've had on my bucket list for years. So I paid a little bit of money towards that program, and I am doing it, and there's accountability and deadlines every week, because I have resisted it and I know myself. So I got somebody, and I know that if I spend money on it, I'm going to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Another thing is you need to start finding new patterns. If you have not read the book Atomic Habits, send me a message and I will send it to you. I can send you The War of Art as well. Those two books I have on PDF. If you like them, purchase them to, support the author and the team that put it together. But I have those books available for you. But you need to come up with new patterns. So here's what I recommend. The first thing is awareness, which you started today. You're already on your journey. You've already gotten awareness because you're starting to see the behaviors you're doing, and you're starting to see it. So you're getting over the ignorance. You don't have that. That's no longer an excuse. But then you got to come up with some goals. You can't get somewhere unless you figure out where you're trying to head to. It doesn't mean you can't change your goals, guys. It means you need to have one, right? So for me, it's getting a certain thing done. Or do I want a certain work habit? Or do I want to have this physical result? Then you have to do something new. Because if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten. So you have to do a new action. If you don't know what to do, this is when you get a professional. But you can brainstorm and come up with, what can you do? Is it a new habit you need to put in place? Is it a new person? You have to figure that out for yourself. And then but see, this is the thing, and I see a lot of people miss this. They'll sign up for these programs online, and they'll do the first 3 things, and then they fail. Why? because they haven't removed the resistance. They haven't removed the obstacles. Any creative person can get into creative flow and start painting or creating. Anybody can do it. But if you don't start removing the obstacles that keep tripping you up on your journey, you're constantly going against resistance. And you know what that does? It makes you tired. It makes you physically, emotionally, in all ways, you get exhausted. And so many people in this world right now are exhausted. And our insecurities and our fears are at an all-time high because everything's a mess. Let's be honest. You got wars here, wars there. You got mental illness. You got COVID. You got lockdowns. It's a lot on top of what was already stressful, like living a normal human life. And so it ramps up our insecurities and our resistance grows. So now we're dealing with all the stress and more resistance, and we're not getting the success because of the resistance. And it's a horrible spiral. And this is why so many people in the world have burnout. That's what's happening. It's a sick, twisted hamster wheel spiral down. So we have to stop it. And the only way to stop that is to do our new actions. And then every time one of those rocks happens in the river, we got to figure out how to navigate around it. We've got to see if it means we've got to change course, right? Or does it mean that there's something else I need to deal with inside? Resistance is a gift because if you resist something, it means something is important to you. It means there is some goal or something that you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so resistant out of fear. So now you take that resistance and say, oh, I see this. So what is this showing it's important to me? And what is stopping me from getting to what's important to me? And from that information, you adjust. But you got to make sure you track wins. This is actually something I learned on one of the things with Motivate, where we started doing success journals. And I've got mine right here. And you start putting your successes in a journal. And then whenever you feel like crap, you look at this thing and you start tracking it. If you can't do a journal, you can get a jar and you can start putting, every time something good happens to you, you just put a little piece of paper, you fold it, put it in the jar. And then when you're feeling bad, you just take the stuff out of the jar to make yourself feel better and then put it back in. I did that at school when I was having a rough time. And then you just keep repeating this process whenever you have resistance.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.